Do you know why thousands of everyday people walk down a familiar modern street only to suddenly find themselves stranded decades in the past? The air instantly goes ice cold, the chaotic city noise entirely vanishes, and suddenly, the sleek modern cars simply cease to exist. These chilling moments are not mere glitches in our fragile memory, but bizarre physical anomalies where reality itself seemingly tears wide open. But what actually triggers these terrifying temporal overlaps? And why does the fabric of our universe occasionally drop us into completely different eras? The answer begins on a seemingly mundane stretch of pavement known as Bold Street, a completely ordinary shopping district located in Liverpool. For years, this exact location has been the epicenter of a baffling phenomenon that defies every single law of traditional modern physics. Witnesses continuously report an incredibly sudden, unnatural shift in the atmosphere, describing a suffocating silence that instantly swallows the vibrant urban chaos. Without any warning flashes or mystical portals, the contemporary asphalt literally crumbles away, revealing an immaculate layer of old cobblestones beneath their feet. In a matter of seconds, familiar, brightly lit storefronts seamlessly devolve into archaic haberdasheries, selling fashion from an entirely forgotten bygone generation. People walking by no longer carry sleek smartphones. Instead, they are cloaked in heavy trench coats and fedoras, glaring suspiciously at the displaced travelers. This isn't a mere hallucination. The terrifying sensation of losing an entire hour of time leaves victims completely paralyzed by the overwhelming chronological dissonance. Historians and researchers eventually uncovered that the bizarre shops described by these bewildered modern pedestrians perfectly matched businesses that existed decades ago. And this mind-bending spatial distortion is not exclusively confined to one isolated street, as similar, inexplicable reality glitches continuously erupt all across the globe. Consider the infamous Versailles anomaly, where brilliant academics casually walked through a serene garden only to find themselves inexplicably surrounded by 18th-century royal courtiers. Every single recorded incident shares the identical eerie blueprint. No blinding cinematic lights, no futuristic wormholes, just a silent, terrifying step across invisible boundaries. It feels as though the universe itself momentarily forgets which century it is currently rendering, causing overlapping historical eras to aggressively bleed into ours. These widespread temporal fractures violently challenge our fundamental understanding of existence, suggesting that chronology is absolutely not the straightforward, predictable arrow we blindly trust. Instead, these bewildering urban legends imply that reality is a deeply layered fabric, constantly folding over itself and occasionally tearing completely wide open. Imagine booking a quiet night at a cozy rural inn, only to wake up surrounded by heavy antique furniture that definitely wasn't there yesterday. You try to call the front desk for an explanation, but the line emits an impossible, dead static that echoes from a forgotten century. These deeply unsettling narratives fundamentally prey on our most primitive psychological dread: the sudden, catastrophic loss of control over our solid physical environment. We rely on the absolute stability of the present moment to survive, making the concept of an unannounced chronological detour absolutely terrifying to process. If you want to keep unraveling the most bizarre glitches in our reality and explore the fascinating mysteries hidden entirely in plain sight, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because navigating the mind-bending architecture of human perception requires a reliable and curious guide. After all, The very next inexplicable time slip could silently unfold right outside your front door while you take your ordinary morning walk. To understand these glitches, we must first abandon the comforting illusion that time constantly flows in one predictable, straight direction like a rushing river. Instead of relying on boring academic physics, let's explore a deeply terrifying concept proposed by brilliant modern scientists known as block time. This radical theory suggests that the universe isn't a continuous movie, but rather a massive, frozen structural block containing absolutely every single moment. According to this mind-bending hypothesis, your distant past, your current present, and your ultimate future all physically exist simultaneously in the exact same space. Imagine the fabric of reality as a towering, heavy stack of thick, transparent plates, each representing a completely different decade in human history. The bottom plate might hold the Victorian era, while the uppermost layer contains our bustling, hyper-connected modern existence, filled with sleek technological marvels. Normally, human perception is strictly confined to experiencing just one single transparent layer at a time as we march blindly toward tomorrow. However, what exactly happens when this rigid cosmic architecture is subjected to invisible gravitational pressure or mysterious, inexplicable atmospheric stress? The delicate, invisible barriers separating these distinct chronological layers begin to develop microscopic stress fractures, compromising the structural integrity of the universe. Suddenly, a historical plate violently cracks, and its contents physically bleed upwards, directly overlapping onto our supposedly secure 21st century layer of reality. Therefore, when bewildered pedestrians experience a time slip, they are absolutely not traveling through a mystical, glowing, cinematic portal to another dimension. They simply stepped onto specific geographic coordinates where two massive historical plates are temporarily, but violently, grinding against each other in real time. The infamous sudden drop in temperature and the deeply eerie silence are simply the chaotic physical friction of two colliding realities. Your fragile human brain completely short-circuits, entirely unable to compute seeing a vintage horse carriage occupying the exact same space as a delivery van. This brings us to a deeply chilling realization. Time is fundamentally not a flowing river, but a massive, overlapping, and highly unstable puzzle. Every single historical event that has ever happened on this planet is still quietly playing out just beneath the asphalt of our modern streets. We casually walk over the invisible, bustling ghosts of ancient eras during our completely mundane daily commutes, without ever noticing the hidden layers. The reassuring, solid stability of our modern civilization is, essentially, nothing more than a highly efficient, fragile neurological filtering mechanism designed for survival. Our biological hardware constantly works overtime, aggressively filtering out the chaotic, overlapping historical realities to keep our daily consciousness perfectly sane and focused. But occasionally, that protective biological filter completely fails, allowing the raw, terrifying, unfiltered architecture of the universe to violently leak through the cracks. So here is the mind-bending insight you should carry with you the next time you leave the familiar safety of your front door. The very next time you feel a sudden, inexplicable chill washing over a completely familiar neighborhood corner during your afternoon stroll, or if you suddenly notice a strangely suffocating, unnatural quiet instantly swallowing the usually deafening noise of the aggressive afternoon urban traffic, do not simply brush it off as a sudden change in the weather. because your brain might be sensing something far more profound. You might just be standing directly on the fragile edge of a massive cosmic tear, dangerously close to slipping into yesterday.